Sometimes in my dreams I find myself inside the mind of God. It's not God's house. That's something different. That's where people go on Saturdays or Sundays to talk to somebody else who they say talks back. But the mind of God, it's filled with things that make sense and don't make sense. You can't talk to the mind of God. It's like talking to a dream. That's what the mind of God is like. It's a dream that keeps dreaming itself. It's has no end and has no beginning. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you'll find yourself inside it. A poem comes to you, or you see something that's not there, but is there. That's what it's like when you're inside the mind of God. It's different than the house of God. The house of God is a sham. It's where people think they go to talk to God, but like I said, you can't talk to God. God is a dream that keeps dreaming itself. They're talking to something else, something that's talking back to them, and for most people that's enough, but it never satisfied me. I like going there inside the mind of God. You can never really figure out how to do it. You just have to be lucky, and you have to not be thinking about anything, and you have to wait for an opening to appear, and it comes all by itself, and then you're inside, and it's different. It's all different than the world you see. It's the world behind the world. And it keeps moving, and all you can do is try to ride it like it were a wave or a piece of music that you let yourself go along with, and sooner or later you're part of the mind of God, but you don't know what part. You just know that you're touching it somehow. You're in touch with it, and beautiful things happen. It's like the inside of your mind, or my mind. It's always going and dreaming and remembering and creating little stories about this or that, and you're just along for the ride, you know. But that's a very small ride compared to the rides you get when you ride the mind of God. If you're lucky, you can ride it for minutes or sometimes even for hours. But it's hard. You have to forget who you are and what you're doing and what's happening, and just ride it. Let it pass through you and keep falling with it and keep falling, and then you'll be exactly where you want to be, inside the mind of God that goes on and on. It's so beautiful. Sometimes I like to think it's like an old house. That somebody kept building and building and never stopped. One room on top of another, on top of another, and you couldn't find your way in or find your way out. That's what it feels like. The mind of God, that you're in there. And you know there are other people in there too. Well, as a matter of fact, Everybody's in there. Everybody you could ever think of. They're all part of the dream. Your little dream added on to the dream that never stops with no end and no beginning. What can you do except accept that and forget about heaven or hell and all that nonsense that they teach you in the house of God? I don't know why they do that. I guess it's easier to have do's and don'ts, than to surrender to whatever it is that's running through us like a stream, like a river. You just let it take you where it wants to take you, high up in the trees or up in the leaves and into the sky, and then back down again to God knows where. That's hard, but it's easy. You just have to forget who you are, and you have to forget about being afraid, and you have to forget about you, and just let it happen. Open yourself, surrender to it, let it come like the cat at night. Let it come down the steps, let it come inside you, ride with it. Don't go anywhere, don't think, don't speak. Just ride it. Keep riding it. Keep riding it.